Morning, members. I'd like to call this Finance Committee to order. I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister for Financial Services to lead us off in prayer. Honorable Minister.
O Heavenly Lord, let us bow our heads as we deliberate during this meeting of Finance Committee over matters that are urgent to our people, that are urgent to the sustainability of the economy of this country, to move this country from strength to strength as we come out of COVID. Bless us, dear Lord. Encamp your angels around us. Give us strength, give us prudence, give us intelligence, give us collaboration as we work through this Finance Committee. We humbly pray. Amen.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Please be seated. Good morning, honorable members. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for showing up this morning. One of the things that just to put everyone on notice is that we will be having regular finance meetings, maybe at least, I would not say at least once a month, but at least every 6 weeks or so. One of the things that we want to start doing more of is Section 11.5, way less 11.5 than more Section 12s. We want to make sure that we have more Finance Committee approval as opposed to what we had before. So I just want to thank members for their usual cooperations. Now, we have a very short agenda this morning. Hopefully it shouldn't take long. But I just want to, first of all, give members an update in the sense that even though the amount that we're looking today is around 20 million, based on the results for the first 2 months, we're expecting, well, first of all, none of the FFR ratios will be breached as a result of the supplementary expenditure. And in this situation, the forecast is now a reduction of 19.4 million surplus for the budget this year to just above 10 million. So I just want to put members' mind at ease in that regard. As usual, I'll ask the questions to be prompt and direct, and hopefully we can get out there much quickly. And as usual, we'll start off with the very first item on the agenda, and which is actually TP 109 Extraordinary Relief Stipend in the amount of $15 million. Are there any questions? Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. Mr. Chairman, just trying to understand, this represents more than a doubling of what was approved for 2022 in a short period of 2 months. Can you explain to us as to how long this is anticipated to last, and what are the government's thoughts with regard to the ending or the tapering off of the stipend?
Thank you very
I'm
much.
assuming this is stipend.
Thank you. It's actually for stipend and also for any support with regards to people in quarantine if they have lose wages or anything, or unable to tend to themselves if they have to be mandatory quarantine. But I asked my Chief Officer, Wesley Howell, and Mr. West, as customary, can you just introduce your name and title for the record before answering the Honorable Leader of the Opposition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wesley Howell, Chief Officer for the Ministry of Border Control and Labor. Thank you, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, for that question. So essentially, when we were putting together the 2022-2023 budget numbers, we were forecasting that we would have started a reopening of the borders back in 2021. So by this time in 2022, we fully expected to have greater air arrivals coming in, and would have had crews coming back starting in January, ramping up as we went forward. Omicron threw that off the rails, and all of that got pushed back. So essentially, we find ourselves in a position where to help the tourism workers sustain themselves until they get to a critical mass, we needed to come back again for some additional funding, pushing those timelines now forward.
Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Through you again, sir, to the Chief Officer. Thank you very much for that. Looking at what we had approved for 2022, $10 million, round numbers. If I heard correctly, basically these things were costing us about $5 million a month. Is it fair to say that this $10 million is just about exhausted?
Yes, Mr. Leader of Opposition, I can confirm that money is now exhausted.
Okay. And I guess logical next question, given what we're spending, is 15 really enough?
So we have seen a number of very honest individuals put their hands up and said, please take me off. I am not only fully employed, but I'm earning, essentially what I was earning pre-pandemic and then some more. And other persons come forward to say they're partially employed, so we've been able to reduce their payments to help them maintain sustainability as they go towards full employment. Cognizant that without the higher numbers of air and cruise tourism, those persons, particularly those who earn gratuities from their line of work, still haven't gotten back to pre-pandemic levels, but we really do forecast a reduction as we go forward in number of persons engaged in meaningful employment, getting up to sustainable levels of grads, tips, and base salary. So our projections are that we would be able to stretch this through to June with some major changes happening around the May timeframe in relation to ensuring that folks who need assistance from the Small Business Development Center are able to do that in relation to restarting, growing, or right-sizing their tourism business. Those persons who find themselves on the list now who are fully retired, don't intend to work again, those persons who have suffered illness that prevent them from working, we can then transition them gently over to the other agencies that provide need for them, NAU in particular, and the persons who are seeking employment elsewhere outside of the tourism industry, then we'll have those folks registered with work and have them down that road. So yeah. It's a multi-pronged approach to get to June.
Honourable Leader of Opposition.
Yes, sir. Then I know last month I think you may have announced a new program to transition people out of the straight stipend. Will this fund those payments as well? Okay. Nothing further from me, sir.
Any other questions? Honourable Member for Cayman Brack West and Little Cayman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to everyone. This question overlaps into TP80 as well for the small business grants. So I think I'll ask it here, and then if that's okay with you. I echo the sentiment of the leader's statement earlier about, are you sure this is enough? And I just wanted to say the support from the opposition is that tourism is a huge part of our budget and our economy, 25% approximately. From the individual, the transition over that you've identified, I think, has met with acceptance and understanding. The only input that I have gotten is, how long will it really last, and will our tourism product be up and running by the time it runs out? So if you're planning your household budget or your personal budget for the future, and you know that part of this is going to last you 1, 2, 3 months, and the rest is completely up in the air with hoping that everything recovers to the point. I would just say that I think it would be prudent to look at and make sure that people know the government's in a position to take care of them, and that they're not going to be cut off at a period of time when this amount. So support. And I'll wait till the next number comes around.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions? All those in favor of TP 109 extraordinary relief stipend in the amount of $50 million, please say aye. Aye. Against, no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Dowell. Greatly appreciated. Colleagues, moving on to ITI 1, International Engagement and Representation of the Cayman Islands in the amount of $260,000. But I understand from the Honorable Minister of Financial Services that he be looking to make a floor amendment to actually reduce the amount. It seems that there have been a little confusion, well, I won't say confusion, but he has decided that he doesn't need a full amount. So, Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
To you, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'd like to move a motion to reduce the amount from 260 to 130. The reason being is this represents human resources administrative staff costs to run the program to administer the proposed new stipends. The amount there was annualized at 260 if it was going to run for the full year, but since the stipend, as proposed now, will run until June, the staff would only be needed for 6 months. So it really should read 130,000, and the reason for the appropriation change, the paragraph should be changed from 12 months to 6 months.
There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of actually reducing ITI 1 as presented on the schedule from 260,000 to 130,000? Are there any questions with regards to the minister's comments with reducing the amount? Okay, if not, I'll move the motion now. All those in favor of ITI 1 as presented on the schedule being reduced from 260,000 to 130,000, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now, colleagues, we'll now open up with the new amount. ITI 1, International Engagement and Representation of the Cayman Islands, in the amount of 130,000. Are there any questions? Seeing that there are no questions, then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of ITI 1, International Engagement and Representation of the Cayman Islands, in the amount of 130,000, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And colleagues, now moving on to TP 80, Support for Business Initiative, in the amount of $5 million. Are there any questions? Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, sir. And through you to the Minister. I guess just looking at what we approved for 2022 back in December and looking at the increase now, quite a significant increase, probably 10 times more than what we originally budget. What's happened to cause such a drastic change or need for this right now?
Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
And I guess I'd want to understand why this wasn't picked up back in December.
Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the short answer is Omicron, but I'll expand. I touched on this in Finance Committee when the budget was being approved, this exact number. It was planned at a time where reopening was planned, I think, for the 20th of November, as we were planning the budget process. And it was thought that the level of assistance that was given to businesses for the purposes of their asset preservation, that they would have had enough injection of funding to help preserve those assets in hopes that tourism would turn around by the end of the year. But with the introduction of the new variant and the continued border closure and measures that had to be put in place for COVID-19, they were not any shape or form able to rise to any level of profitability or even sustainability. So we always knew that this was a potential risk because, unfortunately, COVID is unpredictable. And now that fear has come to fruition.
Our Leader of Opposition.
I noticed there in the description or the reason for the change, you say that this is to help for small micro businesses in subsectors of the tourism industry. Can you tell what subsectors of the industry this will address?
Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is a continuation of the program last year, so the same subsectors, I'll read them out, are land and water sea tour operators, taxi drivers, micro restaurants, small restaurants, tour bus operators, and other tourism-related businesses. So that feature hasn't changed from last year.
Okay.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Honorable Member for Cayman, Brack, Western Little Cayman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You did a good job on the last question I asked. You just moved on, and I didn't get an answer one way or the other. This one, I'll try to make sure I do a better job on asking the question in the right way.
Apologies, I actually thought it was a statement. I do sincerely apologize. I will never do that to you. Maybe others, but not you.
Again, I think you find that the opposition is supportive of making sure our tourism industry recovers. I go back to the same question I had before, and the question I'm going to leave you with is there a consideration to the minister of reviewing this to make sure that the people, taxi drivers, tour operators, North Sound boat owners, and the land and sea know that there is more funds available, again, from a budgeting standpoint, because this is not, you have a taxi and all of a sudden 5 people show up and you go out and pay insurance, recertify your taxi, and make sure the engine works. The problem for especially the North Sound boat operators with their boats and the launches have been terrible to try to keep those operational, again, that they know. So from a budget standpoint, if they know that they're covered for 6 to 12 months, it's a different way that they're looking at their balance sheet and their future business. Now, the success of the Cayman Islands tourism product has been, you make sure that they understand the product available, you make sure they have a good flight in, a good room, and the attraction is the Caymanian attraction that we're dealing with here that is really deemed the success, and that's what people, the return guests, come for this. So under promise and over deliver needs to continue, and we would like for you to consider, sorry for looking at you, Mr. Chairman, to the minister, if you feel satisfied that the industry knows that there's going to be more if the recovery doesn't happen as quickly as we hope and the balance doesn't come back, and if that's something you would want to look at today with us supporting it, or is it something that the industry will know help is there?
Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll maybe give some context before answering that question. This asset stipend for TP80, particularly since we've administered it since September until January of September 2021 to January of 2022, has been in consultation, particularly with the North Sound operators. They've even helped to write the policy program and assist with the application process. So we're in constant communication with them from a consultative perspective. In regards to the answer about whether or not there would be further support if, for example, there's another, heaven forbid, new variant, I think us coming back here today is proof that answers your question, because we had said last year that if there wasn't enough assistance, we'd be right back here. So the fact that we're coming back to ask for more this year on the basis that plans of last year didn't work out, I think already proves to the public at large that if plans don't come to fruition, we will come back here for further assistance.
And Honorable Member, just to expand also, or to add and to answer the previous question before, there have been an ad hoc committee that's been established with Minister Bryan as Minister of Tourism, Minister Andre and myself, where we actually meet. Well, I think the last meeting was last week. I think we up to last week where we met, is to continue to meet on a regular basis to actually monitor what has been going on, because from a labor standpoint, we are also concerned about people within the industry, from a business standpoint and also from a tourism standpoint in terms of getting the feedback. So we have established that kind of working group within the government, or I said between those 3 ministers, where we actually look at exactly these same things that you have raised. And as I said before at the start of the committee, is that it is our intentions to have a lot more finance committees. The government is committed, and the Premier has made it perfectly clear that even for Section 11.5s, we want a strictly for exceptional circumstances. So you will find a lot more finance committees happening now, where we can actually come down and have exactly these forum, because I think it's important. And especially why we're doing it in this forum is to also send a message to the public that we are coming back down here to actually get these funds, and the news and everyone will pick it up and they will actually see the support, not just from the government, but also the opposition, to make sure that Caymanian families and Caymanian businesses are taken care of. So I'm sure, just like itself, is a program that you guys started, is a program that we are committed to continuing to make sure that until we get our people back to where they were, having a certain quality of life, then we'll just continue to do so. So as information changes and the forecast changes, then we'll come back accordingly. Thank you very much. You had another question?
I just wanted to thank the minister for his reply. Thank you for the reply. Again, the representation that we have gotten is, when they look at it, the common phrase is, how long will this continue? So I think what you have said this morning should give satisfaction that it will continue as long as they need it to continue. Thank you.
Are there other questions? If not, I put it to the vote. All those in favor of TP80, support the business initiative in the amount of $5 million, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, thank you very much for your cooperation. That actually concludes this morning's Finance Committee. I am very sorry that it's really a short agenda and you guys came down here for such a short thing, but as I said, I think it's important that we have more of these meetings so the public is aware of exactly what it is that we're doing and can actually see the government and everybody's at work. And also it sends a message, especially to people still affected by the pandemic, that both the government and the opposition are actually aligned in this regard to make sure that we're taking care of everyone. With that said, I would like to... Sorry. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So the approval of these items, the Finance Committee will now enable the much-needed expenditures to be incurred by the government. Honorable members will also know that although Finance Committee has approved these items today, these same items will be seen again by the committee because the government has to include these items in a supplementary appropriation bill for the 2022 financial year, which committee members will see. At this point, I'd just like to adjourn Finance Committee and thank members again for the usual cooperations. Thank you very much.